Everyone, please rise for the flag salute.
Mm-hmm.
I
I
Thank
pledge
you.
pledge
allegiance
allegiance
to
to
the
the
To
flag
the
flag
flag
of
of
the
the
of the
United
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 States of
States
States
America,
of
of
America
America
to the
and
and
republic
to
to
the
the
republic
which it
for which
for
it
stands,
which it
stands,
stands,
one
one
nation,
nation, under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
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 with
with
liberty,
liberty
liberty and
justice
and
justice
justice
for
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 all.
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 Thank you very much. Mr. Miller? Oh, it's saying that. Okay, very good. Very good. Route of egress. In the event of an emergency, all people may exit right or left from this room and proceed to an exit door. All doors will open from the inside. The New Jersey Open Public Meetings Law was enacted to ensure the right of the public to have advance notice of and to attend the meetings of public bodies at which any business affecting their interests is discussed or acted upon. In accordance with the provisions of this act, the Helden Board of Education has caused notice of this meeting to be published in the North Jersey Herald News, the board's official newspaper, on January 12, 2020 and July 9, 2020. Notices of this meeting, indicating date, time, and place, were posted publicly on the door of the main entrance to the school and filed with the clerk in the municipality of Helden. And it should be noted that remote access of this meeting for a virtual meeting was published in the North Jersey Herald News on July 9, 2020 as well. Mr. B.A., roll call, please.
Here,
Here,
Here.
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 Here. Do we have a motion to approve prior minutes?
So
So
move.
second.
Moved by Mr. Moxo, second by Mr. Ramadan. Roll call, please.
yes,
yes,
Abstain due to accident in last meeting.
Yes.
Abstain.
Muted. Yes.
Yes. Do we have a motion to open up the public portion to hear citizens on agenda items only?
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Ramadan, second by Mr. Moxo. Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
yes,
Mrs. Ziza,
yes,
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Time the public portion is open to hear any citizens on agenda items only. Mr. Pagani, we have anyone?
Not at this time, Mr. Guzman. There's nothing in the chat.
Okay. Want to give it a minute to make sure. Nothing in the chat. Do we have a motion to close?
So moved.
Second.
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 And roll call, please.
Um, Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Ziza,
Yes.
Mr. Jaquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
and Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Thank you. Right, for my report, I just hope everyone is having a safe summer. We have convened a COVID-19 start restart committee, which consists of Mrs. Isa, Mrs. Fisher, and Mr. Martinez. And the committee met last week. The administration has been preparing very diligently to prepare for the reopening of our school, which is going to consist of some remote learning, um, and we're gonna look forward to hearing more about that from the administration later on. The Held Board of Education at a joint meeting with the Manchester Regional High School Board of Education regarding our ongoing superintendent search. Unfortunately, at this time, we have not been able to reach a consensus with the Manchester Regional High School Board of Education, which we will be talking about in executive session today. And that concludes my report. Dr. Hernandez?
Yes, good evening, everyone. I hope everyone's doing well and safe under these circumstances. As President Guzman just spoke about, we are working hard to put together a restart and recovery plan for September. This evening, I will ask Mr. Waka to present that plan to the Board of Education. We've been really working hard on this. And I want to commend all the administrators and board members and teachers and parents that are on this committee on putting this together. I also would like to inform the Board of Education that for the 2021 school year, we will put a pause on the 8th grade um, mathematics and world language program that goes over to the high school because of this pandemic. We thought that would be the safe route to go and not have any cross contamination or any issues with um, that issue that's going on. And that concludes my report this evening.
Thank you, Dr. Hernandez. Business Administrator, Mr. John Serapiglia.
All right, thank you. First, I want to hope everyone is doing well. On the agenda tonight, we have several resolutions approving our ESSA and IDEA applications, as well as approving salaries to be charged to that IDEA and ESSA application.
To BA, we can't hear you.
Can you hear me now? Okay. All right, I apologize. Let me restart. On the agenda tonight, we have several resolutions that I wanted to touch on. We are looking to approve our ESEA and IDEA applications for the 2020-21 school year. With that, we are looking to charge certain salaries of staff to the IDEA and ESSA grants. This is our Fund 20 grants. We also have on the agenda tonight the approval of a contract with Delta T for the outsourcing of aids. We are also looking to approve the purchase of some protective cases for Chromebooks. This ties into our restart program for September of 2020. We are looking to approve a vendor to come in to perform our asset inventory. This was a late addition on the addendum to have a teacher take basically, and I want to say continuing ed class. This is to get her certified to teach a Spanish class. This is above and beyond the normal reimbursement, tuition reimbursement, because we're actually making the request of the teacher. Other items that I wanted to speak about, we have been working diligently with the administration here in preparing for the reopening in September. There has been a lot of purchasing of items, and I'm sure Mr. Walker will go into that further. I had sent an email out yesterday in regards to the revised budget. We're fairly confident on where the state aid numbers are going to be at right now. As you recall, we lost a couple hundred thousands of dollars, but we were, I guess, as prepared for it as best we could be. We did look to eliminate some capital projects, as well as the planned purchase of a bus. As you'll recall, at the end of the 1920 school year, we actually purchased some Chromebooks, so we didn't need to make that purchase in the 2021 school year. So we eliminated some of those expenditures to help balance out the budget. Obviously, when the revenues went down, we had to decrease the expenditure sides. So we're very happy about that. I also wanted to report out that we received our notification on our extraordinary aid application. We're due to receive $66,000 this year, which is a $33,000 increase. So I want to thank our Special Service Director, Maribel Martinez, who handled that application. And that's the end of my report.
Thank you, Mr. BA. Any questions? Personnel and Management, Mrs. Perez.
We had a brief meeting before this meeting. We discussed new hires, and that's all. And
Thank
agenda
you.
items.
Finance and Physical Plan, Mr. Ramadan.
We just met to discuss what the BA had already discussed, and it's just agenda items only.
Curriculum and Technology, Mrs. Isa.
Agenda items only.
Policy, Mrs. Perez.
We also had a meeting before this, and we discussed some policies that are also on the agenda.
Security and Safety, Mrs. Fisher.
Just one item on the agenda tonight.
Community Engagement, Mr. Moxo.
Nothing at this time.
State and County, anything, Mrs. Fisher?
There will be a virtual county meeting, I believe, in August. Everyone should have gotten an email just to sign up through the office if you wanted to attend.
Mr. Molino, anything?
Just that we need an executive session for personnel.
Okay. The board attorney is relaying that we need an executive session today for personnel. Okay. Moving on to Personnel and Management on the agenda.
Okay, I would like to move agenda items 1 through 17.
So
Second.
move.
Moved by
Second.
Ms. Perez, second by Mr. Ramadan and Mr. Matzo. Any questions? And roll call.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Ziza,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Curriculum and Technology.
Before I move to vote, I just wanted to clarify on item 8.9, in case anyone didn't see the addendum. It was originally listed as to eliminate the autism program, but that was a miscommunication. They're actually relabeling one of the autism classes to accommodate additional students, but we'll still have another autism class. So it was amended to say eliminate one class in autism program. So I just wanted to make that clarification. And I move 8.1 through 8.9.
Very good. Do we have a second?
Second.
All right. Moved by Mrs. Isa, second by Mr. Martinez. Roll call, please.
Yes. No.
Can you hear
Can
me
you
now?
hear me? Yeah, I
Yeah.
can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Moving on to policy.
I'd like to move 9.1.
Second.
Moved by Ms. Perez, second by Mr. Ramadan. Any questions? And roll call.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Moving on to security and safety.
I'd like to move 10.1.
Second.
Roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Moving on to finance.
Move items 1 through 24.
Second.
By Mr. Ramadan, second by Mr. Moxo. Any questions? And roll call.
Mrs. Fisher,
Just 1 second. Yes. Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Okay, I'm standing on 12.3. The rest, yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman. I believe you're conflicted on 2. Did you see that email?
Yes, I'm abstaining on 15 and 19.
Okay. All right.
Okay. At this time, new and old business, we can turn it over to Dr. Hernandez.
Yes, sir. At this time, we would like to go over the restart and recovery plan. We'll call up Mr. Waka to discuss this. Is that live?
The mic's on, yeah.
I took the wrong document. We're at that.
You can lift it up. You don't have to.
Everyone at home, this is Mr. Waka, the principal of the Haledon Public School. Thanks to the hard work of the Restart team, the pandemic team, the school administration, and everyone else that worked to help us create a plan to adhere to the state's restart guidelines. We're excited that tomorrow morning we will be broadcasting this plan and sending copies of this plan home to all community stakeholders. This plan will explain how we will operate our school operations from September 8th until October 9th. This is what we will call our first phase of our recovery plan. This plan was created with the input of all the stakeholders I had mentioned, as well as our school nurse and Mr. Victor, who's the town's health secretary. His insight was very valuable. We'll be enacting a modified A-day, B-day schedule. Some of the highlights of this plan will make it so that in each classroom we'll have 12 students max in each classroom. This will make it so that when students are in their seats, they can be encouraged to wear masks. However, they will not be required to wear masks. This plan will discuss screening procedures we have, where in the building you'd need to wear a mask, as well as efforts we're making to augment our technology prowess for both students and staff and parents. So I'm looking forward to providing this to the community tomorrow, and I wish to thank everyone that helped us with this plan.
Yeah. Any questions for Mr. Walker? Mr. Walker, I have a question. I understand we obviously the administration had input. Um, I know we sent out some surveys, but how do our teachers feel about the entire restart?
As part of this plan, we did survey the staff. We did survey the community. I had spoken to our HEA leadership team, and I had asked them if they could tell me if there's anyone on their team that has any of the pre-existing conditions or medical concerns that are outlined. I spoke to our Teachers Association this morning. I informed them that not only would I be releasing the plan to them this morning, but I'll have scheduled Zoom times throughout the week so that any group of teacher can kind of, once they digest this plan, get back to me and let me know what they think of it or concerns they may have. However, on both our pandemic team and our restart team, teaching staff was very much a part of developing these plans, but I'm looking forward to having opportunities scheduled this week and next week to meet with teachers via Zoom to talk about this.
Okay. I know recently the governor issued an executive order. Well, I'm not sure if it was an actual executive order, but pretty much they're authorizing that parents that do want to just continue the remote learning, they're able to. Can you speak on that?
It's a very good point, Mr. Guzman. As part of our plan, we are offering remote-only options. The part of that plan is parents will be asked to email their guidance counselor if they would prefer the remote-only option. And it's not a kind of thing where once you commit one way, you're stuck there. You may want to start with an A-B schedule. And if a parent or a child feels that this is not for them and they're too scared, then they can go back to remote or vice versa. But as part of our technology task force, one of our goals there is to make sure that for those students, they're still able to master the technology. We're going to provide training videos for them as well as their parents to help parents out as well.
You know, with remote learning, it's important that our parents and our students continue to have access to technical support, because not everyone is versed with Zoom, so on and so forth. So that's something that our district is going to be committed to providing.
Yes, so I know that we have enough Chromebooks now to get this technology home from grades 1 all the way through grade 8, which is a pretty good thing. In addition to that pieces of technology, we're going to be creating training videos for parents. And the first week of school for the kids that do remote and the AB the schedule, that first week, the cornerstone of that week is going to be teaching kids how to use all the remote things that they have. For our littler guys, it'll be, just because of their age, it'll be less electronic remote learning and perhaps more packets like we've had now just because of their age. But as far as equipment, we became aware on Thursday that there's grant opportunities available for us to purchase even more equipment. And we may very well be in communication with the local municipality to talk about things like establishing hotspots in areas that we know are dead zones, and perhaps using some of that grant money so that we can increase the amount of Wi-Fi access that this town has for our kids.
Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Walker?
Thank you, and again, thank you for everyone that was on all the committees.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. Any other new or old business? All right, at this time, I will entertain a motion to open up the public portion.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Mrs. Fisher, second by Mrs. Perez. And roll call, please.
Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo, Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. At this time, the public portion is now open for anyone who wishes to address the Board of Education. There is a chat option if you wish to use that. Mr. Pagani, do we have anyone?
Not at this time, Mr. Guzman, but I will keep an eye on the chat.
Okay, we'll give it a couple minutes.
I have forwarded you one question, Mr. Guzman.
Okay. Okay, I have one question from a citizen who identified as Audrey. It says, hello, what does a modified A and B day schedule mean? For example, what time? We can answer that question. What does a modified A and B day schedule mean? What time? Does it mean a shorter day or earlier dismissal?
Sure. So this is Mr. Waka again. Um, again, I'm going to be putting this on our website tomorrow morning, as well as our Facebook, and kind of robocalling the main points. However, to answer that specific question, we're looking to have students begin entry at 8:45 a.m. We need to provide planning time for the staff members so that they can provide instructional planning for the kids that are only going to be remote. So the staff will be using that 1 hour a day or 45 minutes a day in the morning to do their instructional planning. Between 8:45 and 9, students will enter the building if it's their day. So if it's an A day for them and they're an A student, that means they will be in the building that day in a class that will be only them and no more than 11 more of their classmates. They will go through the whole day. However, they will not change rooms. They will have their seat, and if they're in their seat, and then they could take their mask off because we've kind of social distanced the rooms. And I'm going to be providing pictures of what a room will look like in all those sites that I mentioned before. It's a full day, and they're going to have lunch in their classrooms, and they're going to have their breakfast in their classrooms. The only time they'd be really leaving their classroom is to go to the bathroom or to go to recess. But I think we've done a pretty strong job scheduling to minimize the amount of, foot traffic that a student would have during the day. And we're going to be sending a survey out tomorrow to get into to learn the interest the community may have about an aftercare option. Right now, it looks like we'd only look to offer aftercare if it's your day. So if your student's an A day, then we'd have aftercare available just for A day students. And the plan will kind of explain how we're going to structure that. But I need to kind of get the community's input about, how many kids would actually want to do aftercare from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock on during the week, so that we can properly staff and properly put them in rooms where they'll be socially distanced.
Thank you. I have another question here from Ms. Linda Alfano. Regarding the midday school, how would they go about switching between classes?
So they really won't be switching between classes, all that often, if not, maybe not at all. It will be a student that's in their room, and the teacher will come to them. So where traditionally you'd go to an art class in the art room, under our plan, we have it so that the art teacher will come to your child's particular classroom. Like I said, the only times we really expect to see them, move around the building would be for recess or for just going to the bathroom or things like that. But for the most part, your child will be in one room. We know it's not the easiest thing for a child to do. However, given the alternatives, we thought this was the safest possible structure.
Okay, thank you. This is a great question by Miss Audrey. Uh, and I think I could answer this as well. But anyway, thank you for the answer. Another question for it regarding eating in the classroom. If indoor dining is not allowed in the state, how are they allowed to eat in the classroom? Thank you for explanation. And I know we're following guidance from the actual state of New Jersey that allows that. But go ahead, why don't you answer, Mr. Walker? I know that we're following the guidance from the Department of Education directly from the state as to why they're allowed to eat in the classroom. But if you can answer it, go ahead.
My understanding is that we just have to maintain social distancing because we're going to have to feed the kids every day. So if we provide lunch and breakfast in the classroom and the child eats at their seat, we've still maintained social distancing during meal times. I'm sure there's some districts where just the logistics of their, the amount of kids that they have or the size of their structures make it so they can't do that. But we can have it so that the meals are delivered to your child and he's able to eat social distance without a mask on, because we know that if we can guarantee that 6 feet of separation, the child will be allowed to take off the mask. And we know obviously that you need to have a mask off when you eat. So that's what we're looking to do. And for the students that it's not their day, we're going to have options for those particular students to receive food every day. The plan will absolutely detail that. And if there's what I didn't mention before is just like I'm going to be having Zoom meetings scheduled with the staff members that may have comments or concerns. Myself and my administrative team, we're going to have Zoom meetings scheduled for each grade level. So if you're a kindergarten parent or a fourth grade parent, there's going to be specific times for you to get our undivided attention administratively to ask any question that you have. And then if you can't make the time that's assigned to you, we're going to have an open floor one for everyone that missed their Zoom meeting. But we very much, want to hear your questions and concerns. And many aspects, we're looking to kind of be as accommodating as we possibly can be, given the circumstances, to all the unique situations that our community members face.
Thank you, Mr. Walker. We another thing is, as per our attorney, he just wanted to comment. He stated those restrictions by the state of New Jersey only apply to restaurants. They do not apply to schools. We have another question here from Miss Lisa Baker. In regards to siblings, how will the A and B days look? Does the parent have the option to pick the days?
That's a great question. That's going to be detailed in the plan as well. We're going to make it so that siblings are put together, but we're also going to go the next step up, because we know that there's sometimes an older cousin or someone like that that might be a middle schooler that walks, your child to school. So once we get set up and you find out what day that you have, if there's someone that that it would really help you out to have a similar day, we're going to do whatever, we're going to do as much as we possibly can to try and accommodate that. But parents will not be in a situation where one child is home and the other child's in school. And like I said, once you receive what day that your child is, and there's some kind of special consideration that you think you need, like I said, we're looking to accommodate the community during this time.
Thank you. I have another question here from Miss Linda Alfano. Would the A and B days alternate? Like, I guess Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, with one day off for all the kids?
Oh, sure. So the first week of school, it's September 8th through September 11th. We will do a straight A day one day, and the next day will be a B day. This is important for us because it's going to be during these times that we are going to be training all children to make sure they know how to use all facets of remote instruction. There's 16 staff members who were super generous to volunteer to be part of a technology task force. And we're going to be working on creating videos for parents as well to help them out. But we're looking to kind of structure our first week of school to make sure all of our students are given the opportunity to master all aspects of online instruction. After that, based on a lot of recommendations we've gotten from health officials, we've decided to go with a weekly A schedule. So the second week of school will be brick and mortar in our building for A students. And that second week of school, our B students will be remote instruction. We will have set scheduled times, multiple times a day, where if you're a remote student and you're working on remote instruction, you will have a staff member, via Zoom or some other type of video, remote video platforms to check in with your child and to help your child if they have any aspects of the assignments or assignment that they're having trouble with. I know that this was something a lot of our staff did on their own, and we're looking to kind of build off that to make it so that even if your child's home multiple times a day, they have an opportunity to talk to an adult and have an adult visually check on them.
Thank you, Mr. Waka. Let's see here. Mr. Brigani, you see any other questions? We'll give it a couple minutes in case anyone want to make sure we don't miss anyone.
Not at this time. All questions have been forwarded to you, Mr. Guzman.
Okay, thank you. Okay, seeing no other questions, do we have a motion to close?
So move.
Second.
Second.
Moved by Mr. Moxo, second by Mrs. Perez and Mr. Martinez. And roll call, please.
Mrs. Diaz, Mrs. Fisher,
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez, Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
and Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Do we have a motion to enter executive session to discuss a personnel matter?
Before we go into executive session, is this going to be just for purposes of superintendent search?
Yes.
Okay, before we go into executive session, I just have a statement I'd like to make to the board. I'd like to make it known and clear to the members of the Haledon Board of Education.
Hold on.
Can you hear me? I can't hear you.
There needs to be a motion before. That's what
If
he's saying.
I would like to say this in public, not in executive session. I can't hear anything you're saying.
Someone needs to move it and approve it in order for you to do so.
Robert's rules. There needs to be a motion and a second before you can make a comment on the motion. So if you have a statement to be made about executive session, you should wait for the motion and the second and then make it.
Okay.
Do we have a motion?
So move.
Second.
Okay.
Moved by Mr. Moxo, second by Ms. Diaz.
Now I can make my, all right. I would just like to make it known and clear to the members of the Haledon Board of Education and to the public that I will not participate tonight in the executive session proceedings and discussions regarding the search for a joint superintendent for the Haledon and Manchester Regional High School districts. While the New Jersey School Ethics Commission has confirmed my right and authority to participate in and vote for such appointments as a member of each of the two boards on which I currently serve, and the advisory opinion is A1711, I feel it's best at this time that I allow the Haledon Board majority to have a discussion without my participation. This action does not mean that I forego my right, responsibility, and authority to participate in and act on this or similar matters in the future in as my role as a member of both boards of education. For 21 years as a board member, I have understood and honored the legal and ethical responsibilities of maintaining the confidentiality of matters discussed in executive session. If I had taken part in tonight's executive session, that would not have changed. However, I feel it's important that the Halden members have the opportunity to discuss this matter without even the thought that their words or decisions would be repeated or conveyed outside the sanctity of the executive session. I look forward to our continued joint efforts to find a permanent replacement for Dr. Hernandez prior to his departure at the end of August, as required by the Shared Services Agreement, which runs through June 2024. Thank you. At this time, I will be leaving the meeting.
Thank you for your words, Mrs. Fisher. No problem. Mr. BA, roll call, please.
Miss Diaz,
Yes.
Mrs. Fisher, left. Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Break. Yes. Before we go into executive session, do we want to take a break? I see a lot
Yes.
of,
Yeah.
I see no, I see yes. We want to take a break. Can I just see a show of hands? All right, let's take at least 5 minutes.
Oh, okay. The roll call to come out of executive. Miss Diaz,
Yes.
Mrs. Isa,
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez,
Yes.
Mr. Martinez,
Yes.
Mr. Moxo,
Yes.
Mrs. Perez,
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan,
Yes.
and Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Thank you. All right, ladies and gentlemen. After a lot of careful deliberation, discussing number one, which is the best interest of our students, discussing continuity, especially as it pertains to COVID-19, in the best interest of our teachers, our community. The Heldon Public School District has decided that we want to hire Mr. Chris Waka as our Chief Executive Administrator to lead our school district. Mr. Waka, we believe in you. We believe that he can lead our children in our district, especially during this public health crisis that we're facing. With that being said, we would hope that on Thursday night, when Manchester Regional High School has their regular meeting, they would join us in hiring Chris Waka in a joint superintendent capacity. We plan on having a special meeting next week to formally appoint Mr. Chris Walker as the superintendent of schools of Heldon Public School. Once again, we urge the Manchester Regional High School to do the right thing and hire Mr. Chris Walker as a shared superintendent. But that is up to them. But regardless of what Manchester does, we intend on hiring Mr. Chris Walker as our superintendent. Also, I might add that by hiring Mr. Chris Walker as superintendent only for our district will save money, and we will continue the continuity of school. Does anyone have any comments?
I'll just say, looking forward to this. I think it's going to be I think it's a good decision, and I think it's a great move. and I think our district will really benefit from having Mr. Walk as our superintendent and our principal.
There it is.
Mr. Martinez.
I believe that
He was
having Mr. Waka here, continuity 2020, especially with COVID, having someone that knows the school and the town and the students versus, you know, someone who has yet to get here speaks a lot. So I'm for that.
Anyone else? Mr. Ramadan?
Yes, I just also want to echo my fellow board members the same. Um, I highly believe in Mr. Wacko, that he would lead this district. And just like President Guzman has said, this is saving taxpayer dollars, which at the end of the day, we, I don't, am my thing on?
Yeah.
At the end of the day, you know, the residents of Halden have elected us to do a job and to serve in the best interest of our children, and that is what we're doing today. So once again, I echo Mr. Guzman's sentiments in having Manchester join us on this, and I look forward to a great year ahead.
Really appreciate it. At this time, do we have a motion to adjourn?
So move.
second.
A roll call.
Ms. Diaz,
Yes.
I believe Ellen's on the meeting. Mrs. Fisher? I'm not allowed to unmute. Mrs. Isa?
Yes.
Mr. Jacquez?
Yes.
Mr. Martinez?
Yes.
Mr. Moxo?
Yes.
Mrs. Perez?
Yes.
Mr. Ramadan?
Yes.
And Mr. Guzman.
Yes. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.